So for a day, I walked around feeling sorry for myself and feeling angry and realizing this isn't going to do any good. So I said, okay, what's the lesson in this? And the lesson was that it gives me a chance to start over. And because of that, I decided, what's missing that I could do now? And I started to write interesting books and do documentaries and create products. Many of you wouldn't have the books that you've read or the television specials or documentaries or even the sleepaway detoxes had I not had that happen and started my life all over again. So now I'm very happy that happened. And in fact, it's a positive thing. So I surrendered the pain and the loss that was something I have to live with.
So we really do need to know how to manage pain and what it is, why it's here, because pain can also be an attention-getting device from our deeper self saying, wake up.
Just remember, an entire nation used their anger in the Second World War to project against the Jews. It was unconscionable, it was unethical, and it was immoral. Didn't stop these people from doing it because they felt justified. In the United States, the early settlers felt it was justified to remove the Indians, and they did so. In fact, what people do in the name of their anger is always something terrible. Nobody went on the Crusades. Pope Innocent III didn't say, I feel so good about life and honoring it through God's word. Let's go kill some people. Let's take back the Holy Land for us. No, it's with anger. Bad choices come with anger.
My father is Ottoman Turkish genocide survivor, and he was 2 years of age. And they had to endure months of walking in the desert and not having food and water and being subjected to illness, diseases. And as a result, 1.5 million Armenians perished, died, and were slaughtered. But I was fortunate to have my father survive it. And we were brought up in Syria because Armenians had to go all over the world to find a place for refuge, such as Middle East, Europe, Argentina, all over the world. And I started with my doctorate here at Columbia. My goal was, I'm going to start helping the survivors, because the survivors were here in America, although seemingly they were doing fine, they're integrated in the American culture, they're working, they're procreating, and they find survival a lesson for them and a wonderful thing to suffer for, survival in itself. I found that a lot of them were suffering from tremendous anger. We conducted systematic research with them, and everything was fine. When we broached the topic of Turkish government denial of the genocide, the whole anger and rage just surfaced. They were yelling and screaming and saying words like they're liars. I know what happened to 90 members of my clan. They all died. I'm the only one survived. How can they say it didn't happen? So there was tremendous anger and resentment.
Almost all the battles they're fighting today are battles that their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents 1,000 years ago started. We're fighting the ancestors' problems that have been propagated from generation to generation. The issue is today. Forgive, forget, and get on to the future.
A lot of people have difficulty of this concept of forgiveness because they think, some people say, oh, that's only God does that. God is the only one who can forgive. We can't. Another myth is that, oh, if you forgive, then that means you're letting the perpetrator free, setting them free. No. Forgiveness does not mean that I'm letting go of my human rights. It just means that now I can work better in a peaceful place rather than in a place of anger, fear, and revenge. I can work in a peaceful and in a harmonious way to find out how I can understand the enemy, how I can get the enemy to be on my side, on humanity's side. So saving the quote-unquote the enemy within us and within others.
Most people think I'm going to get revenge, and that's sweet. Revenge is sweet. Wrong. Revenge is sour and bitter, and it hurts the one who wants revenge much more than the person you get revenge on. And even after you get a little revenge, then it feels good a little while, then you want more and more. It's like you want blood. The truth is that you have to understand that when we hold on to those kinds of wishes, we're the ones who get hurt by that.
Stop looking at others as if they're the evil other, because the evil other never will allow resolution of any conflict, ever. At some point you must find what is sacred in that which you hate or that which you despise. The only way there's ever going to be peace in the Middle East between Israelis and Palestinians is where people sit down and start to appreciate what it means to be the other and find sanctity of life in that other. And what you find sanctity and what you find the God presence, what you find the beauty in another creature, you're not going to want to destroy. As long as everything is at a political level and a hyper-emotional level, then you have the extremist who will keep people fearing the other. And remember, frequently what we're angry about, we fear. And hence we fear people of other cultures, other races, other religions. We fear people of other economic groups. We fear people that have education that we don't. So we have these great divides. And all it takes is patience to say this is still just another human being. Why can't I just sit and talk with that human being? Why can't I see where there's something that we can understand about each other? But before you do that, you have to do it to yourself.
If someone has a PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, if they eyewitnessed a killing of their family or they were tortured themselves, they're going to have a little more difficult time to deal with the trauma by themselves individually. So the greater the exposure and the greater the trauma, there is a high possibility and probability that they're going to need some intervention.
What I often do with people when they have traumatic reactions, ranging from very severe post-traumatic stress response to less severe. But when they have recurrent images or feelings about a past event, EMDR is very effective and very safe and incredibly rapid. It means eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And Francine Shapiro, who invented it, said that's really a terrible title. It should mean every mental disturbance resolved, which is quite different. And what it's based on really is the fact that the brain is incredibly adaptive. And if we direct the attention in the right way, because she realized you do eye movement, when you do that, it's something you do naturally when it isn't a severe trauma. But when you're severely traumatized, you're shocked into immobility, which is initially protective, so you don't disintegrate, fly apart, but then it becomes very counterproductive because you're stuck. And anytime something comes up which even reminds you peripherally, tangentially, in the smallest way of that trauma, you're traumatized again. So it's very important to resolve it, and she found a way to do that.
And I find that when people do that, suddenly they often connect with those deep emotions from that past, along with memories, along with images. And it seems as though the synapses in the brain, that where they're processed in certain ways in the brain, are connecting as they go through the process. And then once they do that, we find that they're cleared. If you did a brain scan afterward, you'd find that that part of the brain just doesn't light up.
What you're doing is simply shifting from one hemisphere to the other. And it's that shift that produces the rapid processing of memories and the dissolution of the trauma. It's really quite miraculous.